So that was an important call I had to take. So going back to this chapter, Lowly Beginnings, when you're trying to go to the next level, um, you have to first, what you want to do is you don't want to look at what's in front of you and what you're used to doing, because that is normal, right? And I talked about it the last time, is that these concepts are not normal. These concepts are illogical. Logic is going to school, getting a job, getting ahead. That is like logic. So you have to have a goal. You have to have a burning desire for what you want. Now, everyone has a starting point and everyone has a memory. That's a higher faculty. And you can remember the hard times. You can remember the good times. And I remember when I was, in my 20s, like 19, 20, and I was making a lot of money with Circuit City. Now, for the people in the US, they probably know this. Circuit City started firing a lot of people that were on commission because their company took a hit when the Twin Towers got hit. Their company took a hit. So they laid me off. I was making like $23.50 an hour, $23.50 an hour. And I was selling cell phones. I used to sell the Nokia 5160 and other phones. So after that situation, I was unemployed. They gave me a check for like 5,000-6,000. Went to the unemployment office and started collecting unemployment benefits. But it was a difficult time for me because I wasn't prepared to go to college. My mom told me go to college, but I didn't. I was wasting time. And I was working at Circuit City, and I was just like, well, what is a degree going to do for me? I don't think a degree is going to do anything for me. I need to have some type of experience. So, I got laid off and I was trying to figure out what was my next move. So I jumped in on the mortgage industry because I heard a lot of people were making money. So I'm like, well, maybe this could be like the next move, right? And I went into the mortgage industry. Now, this is like leading from chapter 1, we're going to chapter 2. And chapter 1 is Lowly Beginnings, chapter 2 is How I Tried Everything. So that was like me trying everything. I was trying, to do mortgages. I was trying to work for a bank up until 2008, 2007. I was doing mortgages from 2001 to 2007. And then I'm starting to work for a bank now. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to lead me towards the path to success. Like, I like what Earl Nightingale says. He says that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And I didn't know, well, I didn't really have it written down, a plan, a purpose. I didn't have what Napoleon Hill calls a major definite purpose in life. I just had an idea to make money, right? And I didn't think that I could use my imagination. I did use my imagination factor, but I didn't understand how to create. I just was just like having little moments of, okay, I can become this or I can become that. But making millions of dollars never crossed my mind. It never like was like, okay, well, you're gonna make $1 million this year. Like, I never entertained that idea. And the reason I think that I never entertained it is because maybe not because I don't think that I can make $1 million, but I never probably entertained it because I was wondering how would I make it. So my how led me to the mortgage industry. and studying loans, because you can make five, seven, 8,000 on one loan, depending on what the loan amount is. You get paid a certain percentage of the loan amount. It's called a yield spread premium. So when I was doing mortgages, we would charge a yield spread premium. So the lender would pay us for that. So we would charge like 2 points, and we'd charge like another point at the closing, or we'd charge 2 points at the closing and 1 point on the yield spread premium. So those were good times learning that industry, learning what an appraisal was, learning what loan to value is, debt to income, credit reports, and good credit and bad credit, and understanding like the mortgage industry. Then it was like, okay, well, I want to make 120,000 a year. I never thought about a month. I just said I'm gonna make 120,000 a year. But obviously, like the goal long term would be to make, 100 and or 200 a month, 200,000 a month or 300,000 a month, and you would have to possibly own a mortgage company. So this is me like trying to figure out how this stuff works without having a mentor, without having anything to go by. This is me just trying to figure it out. So the energy, it just is. It's all around you. It goes through you. There was a photographer. He perfected a form of photography. His name was Samuel Curley. He perfected Curleyan photography back in the 30s, where you could take a picture and you could see the mass leaving the body, like the energy. Now, that's called Curleyan photography. You don't see the mass. You don't see the energy leaving the body. You don't see the radiance, the colors that are all around you, and you don't even realize that you can create something from nothing. Now, I saw Bob Proctor back in 2008 when I was working for a bank and I was having a hard time because of the recession of 2008. The bank actually, they laid me off. So I was sitting there thinking like, man, here we go again. I got laid off in 2001. Now it's 2008, literally 7 years later, and I'm laid off again. What am I going to do with my life? Now, the good thing that was that I was in school, because I was working for this bank, and I found out that in order to become like a regional vice president, I would have to have a degree, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, in order to get a better job. Now, I don't know why these banks put these requirements, but it's like you have to have some type of knowledge of mathematics, or, Excel, some type of degree, right? So here I go, going to school, trying to do everything. And then in 2008, I got laid off and I kept going to school. And then I graduated from school in 2010. So I was literally like not working for 2 years of my life just to get that degree, because I was like, oh, I'm going to go work for a bank. Right. So after I got the degree in finance, um, I got accepted at DePauw University. After I had a degree in an associate's degree in finance and investment management. Then I got accepted at DePauw University. Now, then I got a job at Chase Bank. This is when my life literally went down the gutter. Uh, at that time, okay, it totally changed now. But in 2010, I go through a DUI. Okay, and that for people in the UK, that means driving under the influence. So I was driving drunk. Huge mistake. I was with the wrong person. I thought he would look out for me. He just, like, it was just a mess. And I think the reason that I went through that was to listen to Napoleon Hill. and listen to Bob Proctor. But at that time, I didn't really know why I was going through these things, right? So now I put someone in a coma. The guy, he had like 4 kids, and luckily he survived. So I'm in handcuffs at the hospital. It was like 5 in the morning. I don't even know how the hell. It turns out the nightclub where I was at, they ended up paying the guy lots of money to for the mistake because they didn't have a liquor license. They weren't they weren't supposed to be serving liquor past 2 or 3 in the morning or something like that. And I was with a friend that was like a club promoter, and he basically let me go home wasted. I was like wasted. And the security guards, they gave me my car, and I don't even know how the hell I survived, but I did have my seatbelt on. And I what I went through in boot camp was crazy as hell. Like I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. So here I am. The judge was like, I'm not gonna send this guy to jail because he just graduated from school. So I'm just gonna give this guy boot camp for 4 months. But those 4 months were like the worst months. Like I learned so much in those 4 months, but just working out was like crazy. So after that situation, um, now I'm at my mom and dad's house and I'm listening to Napoleon Hill, and I'm like, okay, well, what is this guy talking about, the master key? I'm like, I have a degree, I could get a job at a bank. This is not going to hold me back. I'm an expert in modifications for loans. I became an expert when when I helped out my family with their homes and doing the debt to income ratios on those programs, which that was called the Home Affordable Modification Program. So I after that, like I was like, I gotta listen to this guy Napoleon Hill. And I started listening to him and listening to him every single day. And I was actually listening to The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. So he tells you to write down something that you really want, a desire. He says you could be modest, but you don't have to be too modest. Ask for a bounty, ask for the things that you want. So I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose. I lost everything. So I took a pen and I wrote down that I wanted to make $1.75 million by January 1st, 2017. Now, at that time, it wasn't, it was like 2013, 2014, around there. So I understood how these modification programs work, and I wanted to start a company to capitalize on that. And then I did. I started a company, but before I started the company, I started working with my sister at a law firm, and it just I just saw the value that I had. I was like, I have value. Like I know what I'm doing, and I don't need to work for someone else. I could just open up my own company. So that's what happened, guys. And I took something that I was good at in the mortgage industry and I flipped the switch. I started working in the modification business and restructuring people's loans because a lot of people were losing their homes. So that was like leading up to chapter 3 is like the change. Um, Understanding what Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor talk about is the change. It's like, how can you go from making 100,000 a year to 100,000 a month? Okay, how can you go from making 100,000 a month to making 100,000 a day? How can you do that? Now, this I relate this to your logic because you are trying to make sense of something that doesn't make any sense. And that is where you're going to get stuck. And that's where you won't go for the goals, the big goals, the ones that scare you. And that's what Bob Proctor says. You have an A type goal, something you know how to do. You have a B type goal, something you think you can do. And then you have the C type goal, something you have no idea how you're going to do it. Like I talk about crypto education. Um, I'm opening up a school, and we have students that are making high percentages on their money. And that company is called Crypto Life School, right? So I started that because we actually had a club, the Crypto Lifestyle Club. But I'm like, okay, well, let's start a school, cryptolifeschool.com. So we started a school, and we're helping people with the new economy because that old economy is trash. They keep printing more money, they keep, making it more difficult. And now you see Bitcoin, Ethereum jump up. You see certain projects go to the moon. And it's like if you would have put 10,000 into Ethereum back in 2013 or 14 or 15, you could have made like $30 million just putting 10,000 into this project. So can you imagine grabbing a piece of that? And it's what it is. It's what you're thinking about and how is your environment. That's why James Allen says environment is more important than heredity. So that is like the change. The change is when you make your dream come true. When you make something that you wrote it out, you make that manifest into reality. That is like the change. Now, you can take that and you can add to it. You can say, look, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have residual income from my online business. I have multiple streams of income. I have investments. I have property that's paid off. I have a vacation home. I have a few vacation homes. You have to be precise when you say these things. And when you write it out in the present time. So like it would be as of today. But you put a date on it. Your date doesn't have to be too far out. You could put 6 months or a year out. And in the back of the things that you desire, you put what you're willing to give because there's never something for nothing. Now, I tested this and I wrote down that I was going to own 20 properties paid off for my retirement. And that was like 2017. And I got to close to 10 properties. Then my desire got into cryptocurrency. But you could test this. And there's a law, it's called the law of gender. It states that there's an incubation and ingestation period to every seed. We know what it is for a woman having a child, but we don't know what a spiritual seed is. So a spiritual seed is something that you really want, because there's a season to sow, there's a season to reap, but we don't do both in the same season. So this is a spiritual seed. We know what it is for a woman having a child. Is 9 months, but we don't know what a spiritual seed is. A spiritual seed could take you, like in Bob Proctor's case, it took him like 30 years to operate. I think it was more than 30 years to operate a company that operates all around the world. And Jack Canfield, the story of Jack Canfield is like amazing. He was talking about Proctor about selling, I think it was like 50 million copies or some crazy number of Chicken Soup for the Soul. He ended up in the Guinness Book of World Records for most books ever sold. And then he sold the company Chicken Soup for the Soul for millions of dollars. So it's true. Like Andrew Carnegie was told by Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill, he's any idea that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, taken over to the subconscious mind will begin to formulate itself in physical reality. Any idea doesn't have to be your idea. Any idea could be the television. It could be your friends, your loved ones, people that never made $1 million, people that never had businesses. And to talk about a business, you think it, you entertain it, you don't have to worry about how. You just start the company. That's what I did with Crypto Life School. We got the design, we got the website, we got education courses. How? I did the action. I started making moves. I started making phone calls. I started putting people together. I started putting a program, a layout together to educate people in possibly the biggest transfer of wealth in human history. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that in physical cash, there's over $270 trillion floating around there and through the system. Now, we might be in a depression soon or a recession, but imagine all that money going into digital currencies. Imagine have buying Bitcoin when it was a dollar, or buying Ethereum when it was 10 cents or 35 cents. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars where you could do what you want, when you want, wherever you want. You wake up when you want, work when you want, start another company if you want, give charity out. You could do all that stuff. But it's literally what you're thinking about. So that for me is like the change. To know that I made a couple million, and to know that I had a successful business, and to start working on personal growth and development, to understand this material, to write books when I didn't know how to write books, to turn 20,000 into a million, to basically stay in fantasy and create a theory and make it a fact. Instead of looking at the facts like 99% of people do, that's why they're broke, and they're getting more facts. And they're more centered, they're more logical, they're using the left part of the brain. They don't want to be creators. They don't believe in creation. They don't believe that you impress the subconscious mind with literally anything. Anything, which is like crazy. So now I want to talk about the real you. So this is chapter 4. The real you is a spirit, and you have an intellect, and you live in a physical body. You're here to experience something that has never gone before. So you're a spirit, you're for expansion or fuller expression, never for disintegration, never for hard times. So what do you want to become? What is it that you really, really want? And what's holding you back from getting the things that you really, really want? Because you're the only problem you will ever have, and you're the only solution. So you have to understand that nothing's created, nothing's destroyed. Everything you want is already here, but it's on a certain frequency, and your mind thinks on a certain frequency. So how can you go to this high energy, to another dimension where you're living out this life, where you're retired, or you're working on mentoring people? And that's one of the things that my mentor told me was like, hey, if you had all the money in the world, what would you be doing? Then I was like, well, I would be doing this. And I'm doing this right now. So people, when they get rich, they are what we call unconscious competence. So an unconscious competent is someone that makes millions of dollars, but it has no idea that they were using the higher faculties to do it. The higher faculties are your imagination, the will, reasoning, intuition, memory, and perception. And you can change your perception on your outlook towards life, or on your outlook towards different scenarios, to get the results that you want. The more you change, that's why I like quoting William James. He says, your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something. And frequently, if you reevaluate a situation, your beliefs about that situation will change. So it's like constant reevaluation of the situations. You don't have to worry about how. I wrote a book on it. We're going to talk about it later on this week. The how will present itself. You don't have to worry about how. The how will present itself to you. And you can never figure out what the hidden law of nature is. That's what Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill in the book, How to Raise Your Own Salary. He's like, there's a hidden law of nature that not even the wisest of men can understand. Now, I would consider myself pretty wise to stick to Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor and to create a company from scratch and make millions of dollars, right? When everyone said, no, it's not going to work. You're wasting your time. So for me, that was the change. That was like chapter 3, right? So chapter 1 is, like I said, lowly beginning, starting from no idea, low frequency. And then 2 is like trying to work with that low frequency and not getting any results. And then 3 is like the change is like, okay, let me follow someone that has the results, right? That's the key. Follow someone that has the results. And then chapter 4 is like the real you, that you're like a magnet. You're a receiving station and you're a broadcasting station. So you're giving out a signal, and understand that that is like a boomerang. You might not see it, but that signal is going to come right back to you. So what are you transmitting? What are you letting out? You're letting out poverty consciousness. You're letting out, oh, this is not possible. I can't do it. I wrote about a book on that as well. I can't doesn't exist. I took some of the main things, which the main thing is like the same thing through auto suggestion. So it's like the main thing is, I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. That's the same thing. Keep doing it. Keep the main thing the same thing, auto suggestion. Yours might be, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have no debt. Because when you say it, you're building brain cells of recognition. You're basically hypnotizing yourself to change the program in your subconscious mind. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have a brand new car and I paid for it cash. I'm building a picture in your mind. The mind is like a muscle. You have to work at it. It's called your will. That's a higher faculty. Concentration. Focus on the image. Focus on the good that you desire. That's the real you. The real you is not who they said you were. The real you is what you're looking to become. What do you want to become? So that was the real me. The real me was, I was looking for the needle in the haystack. I was looking for something that was like really hard to find. Now, when people get this information, it's either too easy or too difficult. Why is it too easy? Because all you have to do is write it down. Yeah, that's all you got to do is write it down. Write down what you want. Okay, you write it down, but your belief system doesn't match the thing that you're listening to. That's where auto suggestion comes in, where you have to keep reading it. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. That's how it works. It doesn't work with you just writing it and put it in your closet, or putting it next to your drawer and just paying attention to it every month. No, you have to work on this every day. You have to be listening to this material every single day, because there's only 2 ways to change a program paradigm. One is a constant spaced repetition, and another one is an emotional impact. And I went through the emotional impact in 2010, and I'm doing this every single day, studying this material. So the real you is looking to grow. You're a spirit. You're here to experience something that you haven't done before. How can you do it? Like Wallace Waddle says, how can you do it if you're Black consciousness, poverty consciousness? That's why Napoleon Hill says, ask for a bounty. Be modest, but don't be too modest. Ask for something that you want. Go for the big money. Don't worry about how. The how will present itself to you. That's how this stuff works. When I started my loan modification business, a person from the radio came to my office and totally blew up my business. The energy is intelligent. You are energy. You're a spirit. You are energy. The energy is connecting to other people for your major definite purpose, for your purpose, for the thing that you wrote out. Because once you write it, that's the first step towards the creation process. That's why they asked Van Gogh, how do you do so beautiful paintings? Your artwork is awesome. How do you do it? He said, I dream my painting, then I paint my dream. You never get an original. Everything outside in this world is a copy. The original was created in someone's mind, from these AirPod Pros to this coffee cup to this pen to this notebook. It was all created in someone's mind. And then they said, okay, well, let me figure out how I can make an invention and how I can put this out there. That's why I have a microphone. That's why I have phones on me. That's why I have a website, because all this stuff was created in someone's mind. It's looking to become. All this energy is looking to manifest into physical reality, which is mind-boggling, because you were taught to look at physical reality and to let that determine your outcome on life. Well, I'm here to tell you right now that you create the outcome. That's why I talk about Napoleon Bonaparte, the other Napoleon. He said his generals would tell him the circumstances they're not too right. We can't attack. And he's like, circumstances? I create the circumstance. Attack. That's why he took pictures like this and he put his hand on his heart, because he knew that's where the subconscious mind is. If you ever seen a picture of Napoleon Bonaparte, he's got his hand like this on the heart. That is the reason he did that, was because he's connected to the subconscious, because he understood these faculties. All the great leaders understood this material, from Alexander the Great to Abraham Lincoln. They understood that your mind, your thinking is important, and you can literally create your own economy with the thoughts. Like, I was watching a YouTube video about what the future would look like, and I related to what Ernest Holmes was talking about. Ernest Holmes, he talked about that the energy is neither positive or negative. It just is. You give it positive pictures or negative pictures with your thinking. That's why you have to control the polarity. You have to control the energy, because you are programmed negatively and environmentally by what you see, smell, taste, hear, and touch. But I'm here to tell you right now that you can change that by listening to this material, by having a goal, by having something where you can keep failing, but eventually you're going to have that breakthrough moment and go right through the terror barrier, go right through what you're scared of, what your fears are, to get to the next level. But if you don't have it written down, you're wasting your time. If you do not have this written down as it already happened, you're wasting your time. And listening to this stuff, you should have it written down, because the first thing I tell you is the only thing you need is a pen. All you need is a pen. So chapter 5 is qualities for quantities. And in this chapter, I want you to write down something that you're good at. Write down something that you can give out to the world, that you've been trained for. You might be a carpenter. You might be good in sales. You might have studied this material like I did. Okay. You might know how to create websites. You might know how to sell stuff online. I don't know. You might be good at talking to people. You might be good at masterminding with people. But write down those qualities that you have, because you have them. And like what Bob Proctor says is true. It's like, if you're looking for treasure, you don't have to go into the ocean and try to find a treasure. Like, the real treasure is in the cemetery. In the cemetery is all the treasure. And I'll tell you why. Because he says the saddest thing at a funeral is not the death of the body, but the death of all the dreams, all the untapped potential, all the unfulfilled desires that person had, he was not able to accomplish it because he was asking or questioning, how would this happen? Like John Kennedy told Werner von Braun, we're going to send a spaceship and put a man on the moon. Werner von Braun says in 5 words, the will to do it, the will to do it. And he says, you can send a man to the moon. You could time the landing by a precision of a fraction of a second. Mathematics, precise. The law of gender. There's an incubation and gestation period to every seed. We know what it is for a woman having a child is 9 months. We know what it is for potatoes, corn, watermelon. But we don't know what it is for a spiritual seed. You don't know when you're going to arrive. You don't know, but you have to keep working at it. You have to keep developing these faculties so you can have a little seed sprout out off the ground. And when you see it, you keep watering it. You keep paying attention to it. You keep auto-suggesting it. You keep telling yourself, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have these things. And become that person. That's what I talked about in this chapter. I talked about qualities for quantities. And now we're going to jump on chapter 6, helping people. But like qualities for quantities for me was like, I knew the mortgage industry. I knew modifications. So I took that and I capitalized on it. When everyone told me no one's buying homes, I went on the opposite side. I started saving homes. And you could do the same thing. You could take something you're good at and you could capitalize on it. Chapter 6, helping people. So you want to get this information out. You want to understand these principles, that you become what you think about all day long. You become what you write down through auto-suggestion, because the subconscious mind picks it up that way. It picks it up through auto-suggestion, through enthusiasm, through being happy, through being grateful. I'm so happy and grateful now. That's why I said, I'm so happy and grateful now. So the first thing that you do when you wake up is give 5 reasons why you're grateful. Send love to 3 people that are bothering you. But wake up and write down what you're grateful for having your life, for traveling, in my case, because I'm in Spain, for experiencing different cities all around the world. I'm happy and grateful. Chapter 7, your thinking grows. I like what Wallace Waddle says. He says, there's a thinking stuff from which all things are made. And a thought impressed upon this stuff becomes the thing that is thought about. The thing that you're imagining impressed upon this stuff. There's a thinking stuff that fills the interspaces of the cosmos, a thinking stuff. And it's in its original state, permeates all time and all space. The thinking stuff is like the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the doorway, is like a filing cabinet. Think of anything you want, it's inside of that filing cabinet. It's like a library, a storehouse. And in that subconscious is the life that you want. But you have to pull it out. You have to name it and claim it. You have to be precise. You don't have to worry about how. That's the crazy part. You have to have a goal. So I decided to help people and talk about this information. You could do the same thing. When your life changes, when you're making millions of dollars, when you see the change around you because you've written down your goal, you didn't have to worry about how. You got excited. You're like, man, I'm not going to work for someone. I'm going to create my own economy. So you did that jump that people are scared of, that terror barrier. You basically jumped out of the hill and you're jumping into something new. Chapter 8. Chapter 7 is your thinking grows. So your thinking is coming right back to you. So I'm going to end the call for today. I want to thank everyone for their time. And we'll see everyone tomorrow, and we'll be talking about the rest of the chapters. I'm getting some calls now. I got to take care of some stuff, but we'll be back tomorrow with the rest of the chapters on the Prophet Express. And I want to thank you guys for your time, and we'll be back tomorrow. Remember, everything's recorded, so you could always replay it. Have a good one, guys.